If you're 0-3 and have some panic heading into week 4, look no further. I'm going to give you a panic meter of all the biggest disappointing assets right here on RotoWire. And the first one, let me just preface this video by saying it is a bad time to be a junior around here. Marvin Harrison, for example, has looked terrible. And it's not just, oh, it's Kyler Murray. I do also think that Drew Petzing and a lot of that offensive play calling is a problem, but Marvin Harrison Jr. himself just doesn't look that great. I don't know if it's motivation. I don't know if his demeanor is one that isn't competitive. Maybe he's just a Nepo baby that doesn't try hard. There's a lot of concerning options. And again, it's not just that everyone is concerned about the play calling. It's not just the few who don't believe in Kyler, but on top of that, him not performing well, it is incredibly concerning at this point. I know if you're a dynasty manager, I am just crazy enough to still buy because I think that price is going to continue to dip. But in redraft at this point, you got to cut your losses and you got to do it ASAP. If there's someone out there that is a Cardinals fan, or maybe there's someone who's a dynasty player playing redraft, maybe you can get an older asset that's been a little bit more productive, or even better yet, make a trade for a player that's going to come back from injury later that maybe they're not thinking about in the long term if you have some of that depth, and move off Marv when you can. Next is Brian Thomas Jr. I'm not going to lie, folks. The Jaguars are killing me right now. I've been heavily invested in them. I've been one of the few that told you that you should buy them all off season and now. But I just don't know if Trevor Lawrence is the guy at this point. I thought Liam Cohn is going to come in with a good offense, but it's similar things like Trevor Lawrence is locking in on his first read and not moving through all of his progressions. And then on top of that, it's just the boneheaded mistakes. I know people thought that BTJ had some issues and made a business decision. I'm not even really concerned about that at this point because there's just so many other outliers. And I mean mainly Trevor Lawrence at this point that's an issue. I do think I would buy him in redraft because the upside is still there, and there is the off chance that this offense can click going on down the road, and there's just so much upside with this player. Whereas with Marvin Harrison Jr., his athleticism isn't quite where Brian Thomas Jr. is. So I would rather have BTJ because he could break out and get a long deep ball sooner than later. So for Brian Thomas Jr. here, my panic meter, I would say it's probably a 6 and a light 7, but I'm not quite ready to move off of him quite yet because I believe in the wide receiver talent over anything, and I believe in the coach. Let's just hope that the quarterback can get it together. And if you like content like this, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button so me and all your other favorite analysts over at RotoWire can continue to get that content into your feed. And more importantly, if you want more help beyond just these videos, go over to waterwire.com so you can have access to all of our trade analysis, all of our league management tools, and all those articles to help you throughout the season. Just use the code U215 on the screen at checkout. And we'll get right back into our next one. Michael Penix Jr. I won't even waste time. It's a 10. I didn't really believe in the prospect, and I don't think many people believed he was a first round pick. We just saw a very small sample size, and we kind of extrapolated and expect that to be everything going forward. Could it be the system? I don't even know. He looks bad individually. That's the problem. He just doesn't look accurate. I had a lot of problems with his mechanics and how he handles pressure, particularly moving in the pocket. So the fact that he has these troubles, it was easy to forget when he was on the bench and we saw the ghost of Kirk Cousins, but now it just seems like all the issues that I had beforehand are still there. So this is one that kind of feels like it's a trickle-down effect to the entire offense since it's about the quarterback, and that goes all the way to Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney. I just don't know if this offense is going to be as productive as we thought it was going to be, and it might just be the Bijan Robinson show and everyone else going forward. So 10 out of 10 on that panic meter. And at this point, if you're in single QB, I don't think you should even roster Michael Penix Jr. And in Superflex, if there's someone out there who's desperate and needs somebody, maybe go and flip them. I would rather have Justin Fields at this point and have that volatility just because he has that rushing floor, even though there is that panic that, you know, maybe it's a lot more what we saw in week 2 rather than week 1. At least he has rushing to bail himself out. Michael Penix Jr. doesn't have that. Next, it's Calvin Ridley. Ladies and gentlemen, I just think it's over at this point. I was very avoidant and averse to Calvin Ridley going into the season. He has a rookie quarterback, and granted, Cam Ward's not been the problem with this team, but I've never believed in Brian Callahan as a play caller, as a coach. He's no longer the play caller. So let's see if some of those changes may help some of this offense, and particularly Calvin Ridley. But I feel like we've always had this idea that Ridley is this young guy who could come in, and eventually this situation will align the stars and we can recapture that one season where he actually finished as a wide receiver one. He's 30 years old. He's more of a slot and flanker than he is a Z, and that's going to keep him employed longer than not. I just don't think he has that explosive upside that made him such an exciting prospect going forward, and Elic Ayomanor seems to be the guy. I thought Ayomanor was going to be a high-end second-round pick, and he fell due to injury concerns, and lo and behold, he's coming in and taking the reins of this offense. So if you can move off Calvin Ridley and redraft in a way where you could still capture some of that loss, go ahead and do it. But it comes to that point where you might just have a roster clogger, because I'm unsure of what you can get for him going forward. Or maybe you might be able to get some running back depth if something happens with someone else's roster. But Calvin Ridley at this point just seems like a dead asset. And if you can move off of him in Dynasty, which is a little bit more likely, especially long term, if someone's got an injury or something, definitely get him off those rosters, because I'm at a 10 with him as well. Next, it's Travis Hunter. With Brian Thomas Jr., I was at a 6. With Travis Hunter, I'm at an 8 because he's a wide receiver 2, and he's playing more defensive snaps than what we anticipated, and it all comes back to Trevor Lawrence. It just doesn't seem like a great situation. Now, keep in mind, I like the upside of this entire offense to where if I'm in trouble and I am an 0-3 team and I just need something explosive, maybe I'll go take a flyer and see if I could put together a package where I could get Travis Hunter and some other asset to where at least one of these guys hit. If you're splitting one of your premium assets, let's just say you started wide receiver early and you're pretty stacked with 3 solid wide receivers and you want to move off one, maybe that's the one scenario where you can go and get Travis Hunter and feel like, hey, maybe I have something that could be better down the road. Because keep in mind, he is a rookie. He is a rookie wide receiver. This is a new offense, so we could see improvement as the season goes along. So yes, I'm panicked at an 8, but because that panic is so high, I like the volatility, so I could buy or sell depending on what my roster construction is. And sometimes in fantasy, that's the way it works. You know, maybe they're a buy if you have one type of roster, and maybe they're a sell if you have a different type of scenario. And I think Travis Hunter definitely fits in that litmus test of players that really just depends. Next, it's CJ Stroud. This is a negative episode of the panic meter because I'm at a 10 as well. This is another one where it trickles down to the entire offense. The offensive line isn't good. And when the offensive line isn't good, it even makes it hard for me to wonder if the play calling is good, if CJ Stroud has actually regressed, or maybe he's actually just bad and he had a fluky rookie season, which I doubt. But again, if there's no offensive line, it's just hard to get the rest of this going forward. We saw the same thing with Jagger May last season. And keep in mind, they only got Will Campbell, but they did make other improvements along that line. I just don't see that happening with the Texans now. And let's say you invested in someone like Jaden Higgins, or, you know, Christian Kirk's injured now, or any of these running backs, you're just kind of eating it. It doesn't seem like you're going to get anything out of this offense unless it's Nico Collins. And let's say you do want to go and buy Nico Collins, you're buying him as a high-end wide receiver too. Or if you just are really desperate and you punted wide receiver and you need some upside. So I do think he's the one thing out of this offense that is a buy. But CJ Stroud, you have to wonder if he's even rosterable in one QB going forward. We'll finish off, just because I just don't want to talk about Jake Browning like that. It's the Bengals, the entire team. Jamar Chase is one where you're going to hold him. If you can trade and move him, you don't want to tear down too far. And I don't think anyone is smart enough to give you something like Justin Jefferson or anything that was even close to Jamar Chase's tier at this point. He's the only one where we just know they're going to feed him targets. But if you have T. Higgins, if you have Chase Brown, it just seems like the straw that stirred the drink is gone, meaning Joe Burrow, and you're not getting anything after it. I feel like Chase Brown, his main value was the fact that Joe Burrow was there. He could be force-fed touches on the ground, and he's fast enough that if he does find a lane, he can make something happen out of it. But most importantly, he was getting a lot of that Kyren Williams targets and dump-offs towards the red zone that were really making up for the lack of efficiency on the ground. So if you have the Bengals, man, try to get whatever you can out of him at this point, because if Joe Burrow is going to be gone for the entire season, it looks like your entire season of owning Bengals players is shot too. As always, folks, like and subscribe. I'm Jagger May. I love you guys. We'll see you in the next one.